For my oral presentation, I did the history of HIV and AIDS. HIV was first reported as a new and distinct clinical disease by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in June 1981. At the time, the condition did not have a name. Doctors in San Francisco and Los Angeles and New York had documented unsexual cluster of diseases in young homosexual men. These diseases, Kaposi's, sarcoma, and PCP, were previously known to this group. All of the subjects were suffering from general immune deficiency. Their bodies were vulnerable to rare opportunistic infections. The subjects were otherwise healthy. The earliest known cases, 5 young homosexual men in Los Angeles were diagnosed with PCP. 26 homosexual men from both New York and San Francisco were diagnosed with Kaposi's sarcoma. 11 cases were documented. Continuing on from that, since all of the first cases of this newly identified disease involved homosexual men, researchers initially considered sex among gay men the route of transmission. The condition was named GRIDS, which means gay-related immune deficiency syndrome. However, HIV cases were soon reported in other populations as well. The spread to other populations, 5 drug users, blood transfusion recipients, adults from Central Africa, Haiti, living in the United States, infants born to IV drug using mothers. The initial focus of the researchers was hypothesized that because the virus was primarily affecting homosexual men and IV drug users, the agent causing the disease was probably both bloodborne and sexually transmitted. Identifying the virus by 1982, the researcher was going in both the United States and France to identify the virus. In France, Dr. Luc Montgomery and his colleagues at the Pasteur Institute in Paris called the virus LAV. Both groups of researchers were working on the same virus. In subsequent years, there was a dispute as to who discovered the virus. In 1983, the disease was said to be caused by the human HIV. Credit for the discovery was given jointly to the U.S. team and the French group. Before the AIDS era, the mean age of patients was 37 years, more males than females. The remainder had Kaposi's sarcoma. 2 patients were reported to be homosexual. 1 patient was born in Haiti. All patients died 1 month to 6 years after the initial manifestation of the disease. The case of Robert R. Frozen tissue and serum samples stored at the University of Arizona were available for one of those possible early AIDS cases. The patient was a 15-year-old black male named Robert R. from St. Louis, Missouri, who was hospitalized in 1968. When admitted, the patient had extensive swelling of the genitalia and lower extremities and swelling of the lymph nodes in his neck. Then he went into the case. It was called the case of Robert R. Chlamydia was also found in his body, indicating that he was sexually active. During the following year, Dr. Robert R. died on May 16, 1969. Tests done in the mid-1980s found that he had HIV antibodies. Soon after AIDS was recognized in humans, researchers began to report cases of similar virus in colonies of monkeys. Another strain of the virus named SIV-CPZ was found in chimpanzees. HIV in primates. The SIV virus was found in more than 30 African primates specialties. However, the virus was not causing illness or death to these animals. It has been known for some time that certain viruses can pass between species, including from animals to humans. A transfer of disease from animals to humans is known as zoonosis. The natural process theory. This theory processed that hunters of chimpanzees contracted the virus as early as the 1940s. The hunters cut themselves while preparing infected chimpanzee meat. The virus then mutated into HIV and was passed along through millions of humans. The natural process theory. The virus could have also been transferred to humans through the selling and consumption of primate bushmeat sold in African markets, an outgoing practice in parts of Africa. Both preparers of meat and those who ate. The colonialism theory. People across Africa under colonial rule were subjected to harsh conditions in labor camps, leading to food security, poor sanitation, and poor health. Workers may have been inoculated with contaminated needles. Workers may have become contaminated via prostitution because many of the camps employed prostitutes to keep the workers happy. Prevalence of HIV and such. HIV has spread to virtually every continent on the planet. Approximately 33 million people worldwide have the disease. Presently, the country with the largest population of HIV and AIDS is South Africa with 5.5 million. There are about 1.1 million Americans living with HIV. 55,000 new infections occur every year. And that's my oral presentation on the history of HIVs and AIDS.